advice of her Green CPEC Alliance that was formulated between the partner organizations and also in collaboration with Dr. Christoph Nedopel Wang previously from the Fudan, but now she's working as the director of the Asia Institute. Just to set a bit of a scene, after which I'll be coming to you, Mustafa Saab, for the official opening remarks. I mean, we all fully understand that the socio-economic development that has happened across the world owes a significant contribution to China. A lot has happened, particularly under the broader framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, and CPEC being one of the landmark achievements under the BRI, I think just recently. I mean, if we quickly look at the landscape, a lot of infrastructure development in Pakistan owes a great thanks to the investments coming under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. To these investments, we have improved the energy infrastructure, the transport infrastructure, the road infrastructure, and even not only that, the achievements and the developments under CPEC goes way beyond this to also a lot of community employment creation, community development, socioeconomic development of the country as a whole. So now, as we move towards the second phase of the CPEC, or what we also used to call it the CPEC 2.0, a lot of opportunities still exist, and we need to carve a way forward how we can most effectively harness these opportunities. And I think as we go into the discussion and the debate, one of the key factors which we actually need to focus on is that that along with these opportunities, what are some of the challenges that the Chinese as well as the Pakistani entity is facing, and how we're actually thinking of addressing those challenges. So today's dialogue will initially present a reforms agenda that has been developed by the Green CPEC Alliance along with other partner organizations, and we'll be requesting our esteemed experts to shed their light on that and also add on to the value what could be further added, because the recommendations coming from today in the reforms agenda that actually is going to go to all of the key stakeholders in the whole value chain. So, but I think we do have a lot of experts joining us today, so I'll be leaving it up to this. With this, let me quickly set some of the housekeeping rules. Along with Zoom, today's session is being live streamed on different social media platforms, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and X. The session is being recorded, and the video will also be posted online. You'll feel free to revisit the discussion later, and please feel free to share it within your networks as well. Yeah, we also invite comments and questions from our the guests who have joined us in person, as well as those who have joined us online. We're also very pleased to be joined by Dr. Jiang as well from BRIGC. And for those who want to sort of add anything, please feel free to put down your comments in the Q&A box that is mentioned on the Zoom link as well. So without any further ado, let me come to Mr. Mustafa Haider Syed, the Executive Director of Pakistan-China Institute. Mustafa Saab couldn't join us in person, but he's joining us all the way from Thailand, I guess, Mustafa Saab. Yeah, so with this, it's over to you, Mustafa Saab. Thank you. Mustafa Saab, you're muted. Yeah. Perfectly.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. Daja hao, Zhao Shang hao to our Chinese friends. Or rather, I would say it's the afternoon there, so it's Shawu hao. It's a privilege for Pakistan-China Institute and Christoph and Sustainable Development Policy Institute to organize yet another important, timely, and relevant discussion on CPEC and how we can make it a corridor which is greener, which is more consequential, and which is more competitive compared to the other corridors. And I want to note the presence of His Excellency, my dear brother, Mr. Wang Shengji, the political counselor of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China. I want to also note the presence of my dear brother, Mr. Jiang Jianyu, who is a trailblazer of green development in China and regionally. And I think we, as in Pakistan, must seek his counsel as we move forward and as we talk about the Green Corridor. And I don't know if Dr. Abid Soleri is there. He was listed in the agenda.
Yes,
Dr. Abid, my warm regards to you as well. I think when we talk about this CPEC 2.0 at a time when the Prime Minister is about to embark on his maiden visit to China to sign important agreements, which will be for the second phase of CPEC. I think we need to take stock of how we started, where we started, and where are we now. In these 10 years, a lot has changed. When the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor was initiated in 2013, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor was the pilot project of the Belt and Road Initiative. It was considered the flagship project because of the background of the strong political relationship that Pakistan and China had, at a time-tested relationship. And it was time to transform that very strong, ironclad partnership to a very important economic relationship. And that is why China also chose Pakistan. As time has evolved and as we had successful early harvest projects, despite some challenges, the Belt and Road Initiative has evolved. There is a long list of countries, there's a long queue, so to speak, that want to be part of the Belt and Road Initiative. A lot of countries have seen the dividends that the BRI is giving them. So now CPEC is not the only game in town. This is a very important context to understand. So other countries are here. We just have seen the successful culmination of the Laos-China Railway, which Ambassador Jiang Zhaidong, when he was in Laos, executed under his watch as the ambassador there. Then we have the Jakarta to Bandung Railway in Indonesia, which is a very key BRI project now. And we see that ASEAN countries have become a very key part of the Belt and Road Initiative as well. And then, of course, the China Central Asia corridor, Kazakhstan is a very key country in that. Then we have Africa and Ethiopia, Rwanda, key countries where there are investments from China. So Pakistan is now competing with other countries which are top investment destinations, where there is ease of doing business and where there is political stability and where there is security for the Chinese enterprises. And how do we continue to maintain our competitiveness is something that we have to introspect, I think, at a time when we take stock of what we have gained in our partnership. Both Pakistan and China, I think, have successfully executed it. But as we move forward, Pakistan needs to reflect of how can we remain competitive as a corridor within the Belt and Road Initiative, and how can the CPEC remain the flagship project. We should not, in my opinion, and I'm going to speak candidly, have misplaced expectations that CPEC will remain a flagship project based on our sense of entitlement. The fundamental political relationship which Pakistan and China historically shared, of course, gives us that platform. But it is performance by our agents, state companies, state-owned companies, by our departments, by our government, that will keep us and maintain that flagship position, because there are many other countries which are soliciting successfully investments. And I'll give you examples. We see that there's a special economic zone in a very tiny country, which till 20 years ago was in complete chaos in civil war. It's called Cambodia. It's an ASEAN country. And like Pakistan and China call each other iron brothers, Cambodia and China are considered steel brothers in China. Sihanoukville has $300 million of exports from Chinese industries which have relocated in Cambodia. And Cambodia is a size of Lahore and Islamabad, and combined, that's the population of Cambodia. Then Ethiopia has two SEZs, which are exporting about $200 million annually, invested by China. So we are competing with the world, and I think it is time to also see what are our asks, what are our key asks from China as we start CPEC 2.0. We are talking about a green corridor, and Vice Premier Hurley Fung, when he visited Pakistan, he talked about a green corridor, and we are also talking about a green corridor. And we are talking about greening the CPEC, which, as Ubaid Saab rightly mentioned, we started a few years ago to start the discourse and ultimately transition to actual investments which are greener. But when we follow through and we scratch the surface, are we ready in terms of capacity, in terms of bankable projects for greener investments? Is the bankability and the commercial attractiveness, has that been forged for the prospective investors? And for those companies which will relocate, for example, like BYD, which is now the #1 company of green electric vehicles in the world, and even Elon Musk has attested to China's prowess in the EV sector, has a factory now in Thailand, has announced a factory in Indonesia, and is growing rapidly. Similar with other EV companies of China. And Pakistan's fuel prices are very expensive. I think Pakistan's common person who is on a motorbike or who takes regular traditional transport can benefit greatly with EV bikes or EV cars, with affordable EV cars. But do we have the platform, the incentives that other countries, like where I am in right now, Thailand, are offering for these SEZs to absorb these EV investments? These decisions by foreign investors like BYD will be purely commercial decisions. They will be decisions based on how fast can they materialize an investment without running from pillar to post. So this is, and so far, Pakistan hasn't received investment in EV, even though I know that BYD is in talks with few companies in Pakistan to invest here, but it has not materialized where it has in other countries. Also, when we talk about renewable investments and we are talking about new power projects, first and foremost is the tariff structure that we are offering these prospective investors. Are those tariffs that NEPRA will be ultimately giving competitive, and as competitive as the ones that we have given to investments which were not renewable, to power projects which were not renewable? And can there be serious bankable projects where Chinese investors can actually come in to make a hybrid park, for example, a solar wind hybrid park in Pakistan? We saw that there was an international competitive bidding that was undertaken by the Private Power Infrastructure Board, which is doing a great job in its efforts. But unfortunately, we saw that there was not a single bid submitted by a serious foreign investor, and then it had to be retendered. So how do we make that tariff structure and include NEPRA in this discourse of making it competitive to our neighboring countries, which are soliciting successful renewable investments, which are soliciting successful solar parks from Chinese companies, and also solar panel assembly lines. Solar cell manufacturing is now happening. Companies from China are relocating to other countries. So do we have that mechanism? I think that we have to have that clarity internally. Our focus should be beyond optics and MOUs to serious structural reform that can successfully absorb the investments, the prospective investments of CPEC 2.0. And I think that this discussion of CPEC 2.0 will also be incomplete if I do not mention security. I think President Xi Jinping's very key, categorical, and unequivocal emphasis on human security when it comes to development as the foremost pillar of economic development, and as a prerequisite of economic development is human security. And we saw that manifested very well in the COVID-19 pandemic. In the COVID-19 pandemic, President Xi Jinping said, lives first, economy later. We will save the lives first of the Chinese people, even if the economy suffers. The priority is human lives. And at no cost can those human lives be compromised. I think that we have to now move and actually realize and materialize our policy of a foolproof security mechanism for Chinese. It has to actually become foolproof, because I see if we, God forbid, have more attacks on Chinese personnel in Pakistan, Chinese companies in Pakistan, it will amount to a major impediment in future China-Pakistan economic corridor cooperation. And this has to be said, even though we say that no matter what, we will continue. Of course we will, because we know that there are external challenges and there are stakeholders who want to infringe upon the Pakistan-China relationship adversely. However, our mechanism, Pakistan's mechanism of security, has to ensure that future attacks are preempted and thwarted without any Chinese personnel, Chinese companies being adversely impacted. This is, I think, critical for CPEC 2.0. And lastly, I think we also have to have, and I have been advocating this in the past, also wrote it in one of the papers for the Greening CPEC, it is, I think, opportune to establish a joint working group on green cooperation within the JCC. Because China is leading the way in green development within China, I think Pakistan can inculcate China's experience in an institutional way. People like JNU here, organizations like SDB or PCI are here. I think we can convince the government from Pakistan side, and we can work with NDRC that there has to be an institutional framework on green cooperation. That is part of the JCC. And we have to have a roadmap for that green transition within CPEC. I feel that there is the right noises are coming from Pakistan, from the government of Pakistan. The right signals are there, but we don't have a roadmap. For example, when we talk about investments, and Abed, I can see you're nodding with agreement because you've talked about this many times. What about investments in smart grids? If we want serious renewable investments, we need smart grids as a prerequisite. And we are all aware of that. So do we have any feasibility to present? I am invited to go to with the Prime Minister. There's a plane being chartered for a certain a delegation, and there's also a business conference in Shenzhen. But do we have a feasibility for a smart grid investment that we can present to State Grid, that we can present to China Southern Grid, which are the two major companies of China in the grid systems? And State Grid has done Lahore to Matiari very successfully. Do we have a feasibility for smart grid investment that here, this is a feasibility that Pakistan is prepared? It was vetted by McKinsey, or it was vetted by Ernst & Young, or the big 5 accounting firms. And we would, we want investment in this. So I think there has to be more homework. There has to be more serious reflection and inspection if we want to really materialize CPEC 2.0. Pardon my very candid presentation, but they say when people talk amongst friends and family for the real betterment of tomorrow or day after, it should always be hitting the point and being candid. So I really look forward to the remarks and of other colleagues, and wishing the dialogue the best of luck and success.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mustafa Saab. You set a wonderful scene here. So the policy coordination, the infrastructure connectivity, financial integration, and a people-to-people connection is going to be extremely important. And also, Mustafa Saab, taking lead from what you have also sort of mentioned, President Xi Jinping also announced a substantial commitment of $100 billion to be allocated to the Silk Road Fund, China Development Fund, China Development Bank, and the Exim Bank for funding green projects and opportunities. So the aim for Pakistan, or the opportunity for Pakistan, is to sort of harness these opportunities and the green investment and different financing partnerships and platforms that have also been put forward at the last Belt and Road Forum as well. So as Pakistan mentions into the next phase of CPEC, it needs to explore more such mechanisms that can expedite the flow of finance while moving from a G2G to a B2B model as well. And Mustafa Saab very rightly pointed out some of the recommendations that you have mentioned, just like the reforms agenda, which the Green CPEC Alliance is also proposing. You can also sort of all scan it here, leave your comments in the dialogue. Will also be, Dr. Khalid will be shortly presenting it as well, but we're all open to the comments and inputs coming from all of you people within the documents. Feel free to accept or reject any of the recommendations that are going on to it. And once we have the opinions and the suggestions coming from today, we'll revisit the document and get back to all of you with the concrete recommendations coming out of it. So with this, we're also very pleased to have been joined by Dr. Abid Tayyum Suleri, the Executive Director of Sustainable Development Policy Institute. So with this, over to you, Dr. Abid, for your initial recommendations and suggestions and setting up a bit of the scene. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Good morning and good afternoon to the audience from China who have joined us online. It's indeed a great pleasure to be here and to be able to take part in the phase 2 of CPEC. Now, first thing first, let me appreciate the efforts of SGPI, Pakistan China Institute, and Dr. Christopher Wong for pioneering this Green CPEC Alliance. And indeed, this alliance has been trying to promote a more greener and cleaner CPEC on both sides, supply side as well as demand side. And that is a part of one of our contributions. Today, we are here to try to think through the phase 2, the opportunities and way forward for CPEC. Now, when we talk of some of the opportunities, I think we also need to take care of some of the challenges. And both the opportunities and challenges, if they have one common denominator, that common denominator is extreme weather and the climate change that is manifesting around us all over the world. As we sit here in Islamabad, if you check on your phones, the weather app would tell you that we are 5 degrees centigrade above the annual average. The temperature is 5 degrees centigrade above the average temperature that used to be in the month of May. Already it is posing a challenging situation for agriculture. It is posing a challenging situation for our mango crop, where the late mango varieties with this exposure to 45 or 50 degrees Celsius temperature, they are literally getting incinerated. And that phenomenon is not only confined to Pakistan, China, and almost everywhere else it is the similar situation. So for me, the way forward is try to look at this very practical challenge that is facing us and try to come up with its solution so that it is more relevant not only to the policymakers but also to the people of both countries, China and Pakistan. The second challenge that I can see is this revised regime of trade. So one of the compulsion or one of the imperative after this changing climate and extreme weather condition is to think through of doing our businesses and trade differently, and that's where carbon border adjustment mechanism will come through. That's where now EU is asking to report for carbon emission at each step of this supply chain. And when EU has rolled out its plan of imposing carbon tax or offsetting it through carbon credit, USA, Australia, and Japan, they are also working on it, and China will also be working on it. Now, this is the second challenge or opportunity that should lead the way for CPEC phase 2. How can we somehow document our carbon emissions? So I think in order to take any course correction measure, first we need to know where we are today, and in order to do that, we need to have an inventory of carbon emission at different phases of supply chains of our key sports, which we don't have the capacity or we don't have the technical skills to measure. Second, if we are offsetting that carbon, we need to have accreditations and certification verified proof that we have offset our carbon emission with some carbon credits. Again, we don't have those labs, we don't have those techniques, we don't have those verification bodies in Pakistan who can do it. And third and most important, going green. And going green, replacing some of the conventional methods of production, some of the conventional methods of doing business, so that we can reduce the emission across supply chain. That is the third opportunity that comes our way. And so this is the second direction where we would like to go. And the third is, it is the increased tariffs on China's green intervention, and China's green product is a proof of the effectiveness of some of the green technologies it's pursuing. So those who are following the tariff regime, you would know that only a few weeks ago in the United States, the tariffs on green technologies from China, those have been tripled or quadruplated. The similar initiatives are being taken in the EU, which somehow tells us that these technologies and these initiatives, they are effective, and they are effective. That's why, of course, the competing nations, they are putting more tariffs on it so that they can take care of their homegrown industries. And in case of Pakistan, here we have an opportunity. So we have a friendly country like China who has got the technology and the initiative which are being discouraged and where tariffs are being applied. So in the rest of the world, and that's where Pakistan and China, they can work closer so that those technologies can not only roll out in Pakistan, but both countries, they can also avail maximum benefit of it. And we know that after this imposition of these tariffs, part of the strategies that coping strategy that China is adopting is shifting its production from China to third countries. And third country, one of the third country can be Pakistan. So this is the broader contour that I wanted to lay out. But going into nitty-gritty and details, we of course need to think about the green financing. So everything that I mentioned from registering, making an inventory of carbon emission to the verification and certification of carbon credits to selling and trading of carbon credits to green initiatives, all of it require financing, and that's where we need to think of green financing and green bonds so that our industries and our initiatives, those can be financed sustainably. Then, of course, we need to think about our greening of our grid, electricity and grid, and that would require some track two and backdoor diplomacy with the independent power producers. As we know today that government is mulling around discouraging solar generation because of the capacity payment charges, take-or-pay policy under which if we don't buy from IPPs, we will have to pay to them. Now, this is a contradiction. On one hand, we are aiming to green our modes of production. We are aiming to green our manufacturing, to green our exports. On the other hand, we are trying to stick to fossil fuel, and we may be trying to discourage the solar power. And the linchpin here is capacity payment charges that we have to pay to not only to the producers, electricity producers from Pakistan, the two IPPs, domestically owned IPPs, but also the IPPs installed by China. And in order to greening our grid and greening our energy mix, we will encourage under this CPEC phase to have some sort of track two and closed door diplomacy. Of course, these things, they cannot be resolved through public hue and cry. These things, they need very evidence and data-driven approaches to be negotiated so that we can negotiate on the terms of payments to IPPs. We can negotiate on the tenure of loans under IPPs, and we can invite and attract some investment in solar energy in Pakistan. And as the colleague will tell you that SIFC and Sino-Solar Company, they have already successfully rolled out assembly of the first solar plates in Karachi. So on one hand, we are pursuing this, and on the other hand, we are discouraging solar power. So this policy consistency and policy contradiction that needs to be tackled, and CPEC phase 2 provides us an opportunity to do it. The third and another important aspect of greening CPEC is green metals. So as we know that the fuel of the future is metal, it will not be fossil fuel. So we are talking of copper, we are talking of cobalt, we are talking of lithium, we are talking of nickel, and these are the fuels of the future who will help in the EV battery manufacturing, or who will help in the solar energy battery manufacturing. And again, some of the untapped potential in Pakistan is these green minerals, and China and Pakistan under this CPEC phase 2, they can work on those green products. And finally, it's green diplomacy and effective communication. I think it is about time in the preparation and in the run-up to COP29, Pakistan, along with the G77 countries and China, they should come up with a common position, and that common position should be promotion of green technologies, green equipment, and green initiatives borderless promotion of these initiatives. I think this technology transfer that is extremely important, and that's where one can look towards China, and one can try to establish some of those green technologies in Pakistan for outward promotion. So this is just some of the pieces of jigsaw puzzle that I wanted to share with you, so that with your technical presentations and discussion, you may like to give them a shape. But for me, while there are challenges, there are opportunities in the years to come. Coping against climate change and getting prepared to the extreme climate phenomena, and that's where CPEC phase 2 can be really a game setter. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Abid, for highlighting these opportunities as well as the challenges. And I would also request, once we come to our esteemed panel and the speakers, to also respond to the points raised by Dr. Abid. So I think with this, we all have a perfect scene to go for the reforms agenda that we have developed under the Green CPEC Alliance, for which I'll be inviting Dr. Khalid Walid, who's currently working as a research fellow of STPI. So if MIS team can sort of open the slide share, and we'll be, yeah, the floor is for Dr. Khalid.
Thank you so much, Brad. Thank you so much, everyone. Excellency, Dr. Abed, Shahjahan Perdasa. Thank you so much for your insights. So this is reform priorities for CPEC 2.0, the sustainable drive in energy sector. I would be more focusing on energy sector, but from a lens of an energy economist with a slight touch of environment and climate change. So macroeconomic landscape of Pakistan, CPEC and current status of energy investments in Pakistan, CPEC 2.0, and what are different reform priorities for CPEC 2.0. Well, we all know about it. We are facing a volatile economic growth that is not stable. We are in a debt trap. Recent reports suggest that in this year, about 15 billion USDs have to be paid under CPEC energy projects. We have low industrial growth. That is a linchpin sort of thing for Pakistan right now. And then we have increased interest rates, exchange rates, and inflation rates, which is sort of directly connected with Pakistan's energy turmoil, and we'll see in further slides. This is the status of current energy projects in Pakistan. These are power plants run on imported coal, the Sahiwal, China Hub, Port Qasim. The problem with these power plants is that taking the environmental aspect, their negative externalities aside, it has a macroeconomic sort of consequences as well. Because Pakistan is facing economic turmoil right now, the utilization rate, because these are imported coal power plants, the utilization rate of these power plants is declining about 20-30%, which is increasing the capacity charges of these power plants. Then we have indigenous coal power plants under CPEC. Again, it is the mixture of negative environmental externalities, Pakistan's macroeconomic turmoil, and so on. Then these wind and solar farms, which faces curtailment issues because we have excess grid capacity, electricity capacity, and whenever there is low demand, the first power plant that get curtailed are these wind power plants. So again, all these three types of power plants, they have issues, they have sort of economic turmoil influence them and affects them. So one functional one under Hydel is 700 megawatts growth power plant. So this is the picture that these power plants are currently being run in Pakistan, and some are in pipeline, majorly hydro dams, one Gawada coal power plant is in pipeline as well.
Sorry, Khalid, जरा lights अपनी off करवा लें ताकि slide नजर आ सके ऊपर वाली पे.
Okay. Sure. Fine. Hard disk visible. Oh, thumbs up. Oh. Okay, so this is the picture of current energy projects that have been installed under CPEC, and some of them are in pipeline, majorly hydro in IPP mode, and one in Gawada, that is 300 megawatt coal power plant. As Dr. Abid rightly mentioned that there is climate change debate, economic turmoil, financial instability in energy sector, maybe the power plants in pipeline, they can be revisited, they can be repurposed to renewable energy plants so that we have more bankable and economic and environmentally feasible sort of case for Pakistan, and when we go towards CPEC 2.0. Often. Okay, now it's fine. Okay, this is the capacity right now. Imported coal, it is 500 plus megawatts. Third coal under CPEC is about 101.4 terawatts. Wind is 300 megawatts, solar is 1000, and hydro is about 700 megawatts. This is currently installed run projects. What are different issues in energy sector? Well, obviously we have excess energy capacity. If you see the capacity installed, it is over 40,000 megawatts right now, but the peak transmission demand or peak demand is about 27,000 megawatts. So the installed capacity is majorly no use of us. So maybe we can sort of building more power plants are bringing investment into electricity generation. We can sort of think for transformation in already installed power plants, maybe a transition from fossil fuel based power generation to renewable based power generation. Second issue is Pakistan's consumption mix. Well, I have compared Pakistan with China and world average. You can see a clear contrary trend. In residential sector, Pakistan's consume about 48% of total electricity in residential sector. China consumes about 17%. And if you see the industrial sector, it is totally opposite in Pakistan and China. In industry, China consumes about 40% of total electricity in industries, whereas we consume about 25% in our industrial sector. So this is another conundrum that we need to integrate our electricity sector, power sector with our industrial growth. This is not the case in Pakistan right now. Maybe CPEC 2.0 can bring these, as Dr. Abid mentioned, jigsaw puzzles together, and we can sort of link industrial production with electricity consumption in Pakistan. Third, most important, the financial instability. We all know that due to this unproductive demand, which is significantly coming from residential sector, we have this unproductive demand, circular debt. All these IPPs come under CPEC. They are indexed with dollar interest rate. So the capacity charges are increasing because low industrial demand. If you compare electricity demand with fiscal year 2022, you'll see that in fiscal year 23, the demand has decreased about 10% in Pakistan. Lastly, CBAM and climate commitments. If you compare Pakistan's carbon intensity of exports, you'll see that Pakistan's carbon intensity is about 1.7 times more than the EU. This will pose enormous amount of risk for Pakistani exports by 2030. So we need to sort of bring these things together, and we need to think of not installing more capacities, but focus more on transforming or transitioning away from fossil fuel and make our this existing national grid more reliable, more affordable, and more cleaner. This can be done by linking industrial production and renewable energy under CPEC 2.4. This is the case of China Hub CPP coal-fired power plant. You'll see that there is a direct connection with macroeconomic indicators and capacity charges. Back in 2016, when this power plant started, the capacity charges were about 3 rupee per unit. Because these are indexed with all these indicators, CPI of USA, exchange rate, local CPI, interest rates, foreign and local. These capacity charges have now increased by either folds, 5 folds, 2 folds. If you see the cost of working capital, it has increased to about 548% if you compare it with 2016. So the capacity charges have increased from 3.7 rupee per unit to 12 rupee per unit, and it is directly connected with macroeconomics of Pakistan. And then again, because industrial growth is low, the projection is that these indicators would further deplete. So we need to sort of integrate these macroeconomics, energy, and environment. Again, this is Sahiwal coal power plants. You can see same trend about increase of about 2 to 16%. Again, the interest rate, CPI, LIBOR, and interest rate, these have increased and caused this. Again, Port Qasim, similar story, about 195% increase in capacity charges, again, due to interest rate, CPI, and exchange rate. So what is CPEC 2.0? Well, there is a theoretical economic model that in development economics known as Rustodian growth model. It has different stages. In first stage, there is traditional society, then there is transitional stage, and then takeoff industrialization, drive to maturity, diversification, and lastly, it is the consumption or high mass consumption-based society. What in Pakistan is happening is we sort of take a quantum leap from stage 2, which is infrastructure development to directly to this high mass consumption, where imports are high, where consumption is high. We have now become the consumptive economy, not the productive economy. So we need to sort of link CPEC 2.0 with this, and we need to sort of go back to the stage 3, where there is a takeoff of industrialization. The country is focused on growing investments, regional growth, and bring industrialization agenda back on the table and linking it, integrating it with other sectors, particularly with power sector, based on renewable energy and environmental preferences, so that we can have this integrated sort of growth. In CPEC 2.0, it would be more people-centric development, renewable energy development, special economic zones linked with power sector, with renewable energy, technology transfer, industrial growth sort of thing. So the industrial growth, that should be the focus of the debate, taking lead from the best practices currently being done in China, that is how to sort of integrate the climate and environment agenda into macroeconomic policy making. What are different reforms priority for CPEC? First pillar of this document that you just seen is just an orderly energy transition. It can be done through a regulatory and policy consistency. The change of government, the policy change, not favorable for development of just an orderly energy transition plans. Then second thing in this pillar is Chinese private sector investments in renewable energy. That is very important. At current, most of the investments, majorly, they are G2G investments, maybe B2B sort of initiative that would bring more competition, that would bring more efficiency in energy sector. And then innovative financing mechanisms, particularly the GIFB initiative by China, developed by NRBC, that is to support a green transition, green investment financing partnership. It is an alternative to just energy transition partnership that is developed by G7 and Denmark, Norway, and 57 countries. Second pillar is the greening of the investments under CPEC. If you talk about greening the investments, we can sort of build environmental social management system which can sort of provide base for grievance reversal mechanisms and can have this traffic light sort of system under DRIGC green development. Third pillar of this is the relocation of Chinese industries to Pakistan's SEZs under CPEC. What we can explore is, and Mustafa Saab rightly mentioned at the start, is that Pakistan needs to assess Pakistan's absorption capacity in terms of EV development and whether are we ready for relocation of EV industry to be shifted in SEZs of Pakistan. Second thing, very important, SEZs would require more and more reliable and clean power for production and for exports. So we can connect SEZs with off-grid renewable energy solutions and then capacity building program. And last pillar is energy access through CPEC. That can be done through community-driven mini or microgrid models. Rural electrification can be done, linking it with Dr. Abid's point on net metering and solar rooftop initiative. China can provide the technology so that under CPEC 2.0, the community initiatives can be highlighted, and this income disparity among rural and urban households, that can be addressed through this as well. And then lastly, very important for Pakistan's electricity distribution sector is smart metering initiative. Maybe this privatization debate of discourse that can be linked with CPEC 2.0, where we can have smart metering, and that would resolve the issue of inefficiencies in company. For this reforms agenda under CPEC 2.0, STPI, DCI, and PRIDE, we present these three platforms that are needed to be developed under this partnership. First is Renewable Energy Diplomatic Task Force, which will be a GPD sort of thing, where this agenda can be taken further. Second is this B2B Green Alliance, where businesses from Pakistan and China, they can sort of discuss and foster this agenda. And lastly, it is the Sino-Pak Clean Energy Partnership. That is the coalition of like-minded think tanks working on industrialization, decarbonization, and sustainability sort of thing, so that this partnership of Pakistan and China can take a quantum leap from CPEC 1.4 to 2.0. Thank you so much. Looking forward to very insightful thought of today. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Khalid, for a wonderful presentation. And definitely, just like you mentioned initially, that the recommendations that are presented over here are for discussion. Please do add your comments. We'll be displaying the agenda link and we'll be forwarding to you as well. And so feel free to comment. So with this, we can, I think, move towards our distinguished panelists here. I'll initially been requesting Mr. Shah Jahan Mirza, the Managing Director of Private Power Infrastructure Board, Ministry of Energy Power Division, for his interventions. And sir has been extremely playing a very key role in the whole energy sector development state. So with this, sir, I'll be coming to you over here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wang, Dr. Abissalari, distinguished participants. It's, I think, a real pleasure to be here in this discussion for CPEC Phase 2 or CPEC 2.0. There's a lot have been said on the energy sector, so I think some of my speech and some of my talking points have already been covered. So I'll try to not be repetitive and try to focus on actually on the way forward rather than just going back to the history. But again, I would like to distinguish between the phase 1 of the CPEC and phase 2 of the CPEC. When we started phase 1 of the CPEC in 2013 and 14, that was the time when Pakistan was facing severe power shortages, and there was load shedding of 10 to 12 hours even in Islamabad and Lahore cities. What to say about the smaller town and the smaller cities? So CPEC phase 1 actually focused on immediate problems which Pakistan was facing. So most of the work was done in the energy sector, from the PPIB and Alternative Energy Development Forum, which is now combined organization, around $17 billion investment has come only into the power generation sector. And it includes all type of projects. Dr. Khalid has shown a mix, and we have seen the imported coal projects, we have seen the local coal project, we have seen the renewable energy project, we have seen hydropower projects. So there was a combination. But again, since we were facing shortages, and even so, today, renewable energy is not a base load solution. So we need the power which we could supply as per demand 24 hours. So the focus was on the base load. And for base load at that time, it was considered that coal will be probably the cheapest fuel because world is leaving the coal. It is a dirty fuel. So that's why. And second thing is, since we had huge reservoir of coal, lignite coal in Thar, which is 6th largest reservoir in the world. So we thought that we should start with the imported coal projects, bring in some technical know-how and technology and work into the Pakistan. Because in Pakistan, actually before 2017, when Sahiwal coal power project was commissioned, there was no power generation on coal in Pakistan. We were really very late in that sense, because when world was leaving the coal, we were actually starting the coal generation. But again, since that was the cheap fuel, and that was the first step towards utilization of Pakistan's coal resource, so this was started. But again, nobody has a crystal ball to look at. So what turned out to be that when we started this imported coal projects, that the coal was about $65, $67 per ton. And with the Ukraine war and other global issues, we have seen it crossing $450 per ton. So that is the type of hike we have seen. In addition to the global inflation, interest rate hike, and so on and so forth. But again, just summing up this discussion, the first phase was the infrastructure development. So we developed the maximum investment came into the energy sector, as I said, 17 billion. We have done the first HVDC transmission line in Pakistan, which is even the first in the private sector in Pakistan. So, and I think the second major investment came into the road infrastructure. We have seen development of the Gwadar port. We have seen development of the Gwadar airport. So now I think we have the right infrastructure. And in the second phase, we need to develop a plan to reap the dividend of this infrastructure. What has gone in the power sector, what I believe some of you may not agree, that we, not in only power sector, our planning has not been very perfect, to say the least. Our planning has been rather a failure. When we plan anything, not only power sector, we are very ambitious and we are very aggressive. So in 1994, we planned that our GDP will grow 5%, 6%. We put up the power plants, and in the next few years, we saw that the GDP hit the floor, and it was less than 1% and 2%. Same has happened in CPEC case. We were planning that the GDP will grow 5%, and with that GDP growth, the power demand will grow, industry will grow, export will grow. But again, what we are seeing for the last 5, 6, 7 years, the growth is less than 2%, except 1 or 2 years. So I think the lesson is that we should not only plan one sector as a priority, we should plan all the sectors combined, and we should look at whatever best we can do. So we should not be very bullish and aggressive in planning, particularly when it comes to the major investment, where once you make the investment, you have to pay back to it. We use it or not use it, what Dr. Khalid was showing. I think the major factor is the exchange rate movement, the interest rate movement, Pakistan inflation, so on and so forth. But another major factor is that we have not been able to utilize these power plants. I think most of you will quickly understand that if we are using a power plant 30% or 25%, and we are paying full capacity payment, probably the tariff impact is very high compared to we using this plant at full capacity. So that, I think, our one major issue on which we are still struggling, and we need to say what is the way forward. So when we come to the phase 2, what government is thinking, and I think these recommendations will be very helpful, though maybe slightly late because the PM visit is scheduled next week, and they are actually planning what needs to be done there. Major part is the initiation of CPEC 2. So that's I think where. So in the second phase, as I said, we are trying to reap the dividends of the initial investment in the infrastructure. The focus is now more on people-to-people contact. In the first phase, we have done most of the project on G2G basis. Now the focus will be on the B2B basis. I think that's where most of the potential lies. Because G2G, we develop infrastructure, but B2B, we need to bring in now investment into Pakistan. And the focus is on, as mentioned earlier, relocation of the industries to Pakistan, increasing Pakistan exports to China. So what could be done? Then we are focusing more on, no, the focus not on the power generation. We are focusing more on the transmission side, on the smart grid, and other things actually which can improve the utilization of these power plants. Dr. Khalid mentioned about wind curtailment in Sindh area. So this wind curtailment, of course, is to some extent is due to the demand, but the major extent of wind curtailment is due to the grid constraints. So we are facing severe grid constraints when it comes to south to north power transmission in the winter, and when it comes to north to south transmission in the summer. So we have, I think, a unique structure of the power sector that we have the power generation mostly from the hydro resources in the north and from the thermal in the south, the two nuclear power plants, which was K Electric, and then the power generation, Port Dawson power generation. So we are working with this. So second phase is actually improvement as the bottlenecks and bringing in more transmission oriented thing. And we are talking about like automatic metering infrastructure to break down the losses and the theft into the power sector. So focus is all on all those areas where actually we need to leverage our investment in the power sector, which were made in the earlier sector. Making the green CPEC, I think that's now the priority. So now we, in our portfolio, we currently accept Gwadar coal plant. We don't have any new thermal power plant in the CPEC scenario. We have 1124 megawatt Kohala hydropower projects. We have 700 megawatt Azadpatan hydropower project. We have 600 megawatt solar projects at Qaida Solar Park. We have 200 megawatt of wind projects. So there is a list of renewable energy projects which we want to do in the second phase of the CPEC. So that's I think important transition from thermal to the solar. But again, as I said earlier, because the renewable energy is not a 24-hour supply, so you have to have some backup to cover in the night. So renewable energy, particularly solar, is available in the daytime, but our peak demand time are in the evening when solar is not available. So you have to have, actually, if we look at from the economic and financial perspective, the renewable energy seems very cheap, which actually it is. If we look at only one part, that is the renewable energy. But when we look at the other part, that you have to have a backup of thermal power generation to supply power to those consumers which are using the solar energy in the daytime. So you have to make additional investment. So we need to look into that also. But again, having said that, the government target is to increase the renewable energy hydro share. Currently, it is 31%. So we want to take it anything between 53 to 55% by 2034. So that is the target. We are also talking about conversion of the imported coal power plant to the local coal. It is not a one-step process. It's not a very easy and very quick fix. But we have started talking with the Chinese that we should use the local resource to actually come up with the solution of the foreign exchange shortages. Again, looking at, I think we talk about the challenges. It has been said security is probably the biggest challenge. Then we have FX shortages. So I think our Chinese counterparts know very well. It's not a good story to tell. But again, the reality is some of the projects that were commissioned in 2017 and 18, they have not been able to pay a single dollar of dividend so far to their shareholders. So they're not very happy with this investment. So we need to correct that situation also. The payable backlog is very long. So we need to cover that also. There are a lot of challenges on which we must move with the proper planning. And the government is working, and I think these type of workshops will provide more and more support and more recommendation there how to move forward. The electronic vehicles, I think Dr. Mustafa Haidar also mentioned, one of the companies seriously talking about it. Probably they will start installing their factory here by end of this year or early next year. So that is a good development. two companies are working, starting on the assembly line for the solar PV panel in Pakistan, which will be mainly for the export purposes due to the sanctions on China and Europe and America. So I think that's the area where we need to actually take the CPEC further. But again, there are a lot of challenges we need to cover. As a nation, I should be a bit critical here. We talk more and we work less actually. This is the problem, as Mustafa Haider was actually saying, that we have a lot of ideas, we have a lot of conceptual stage projects, but we don't have a bankable feasibility study on the Chinese press a lot, because when somebody has to make an investment for 10, 15, 20 years, so they need a robust feasibility study on which they can make investment. So we are working on that. But again, I think the main focus of this CPEC 2 is to coming out of the G2G arrangement, G2G agreement and G2G businesses and more move towards the B2B business so that we can relocate industries, we can increase exports from Pakistan, we can increase export of Pakistan to China to cover the export, to cover the deficit in the trade. So there are a lot of things which need to be done, and I think this forum will be able to give some more insight actually on the recommendations how this could be done. Obviously, there are a lot of ideas, there are a lot of proposals, but we need to look into how we can crystallize those proposals and how actually we can make it to a level right so that Chinese can make some investment. In this delegation, the Prime Minister, I think about 150 Pakistani businessmen are going. So this is more event from B2B contact, and about 130 to 150 Chinese companies are also participating in the event in the Shenzhen. So we look forward to taking the CPEC further in this context, making the CPEC greener, covering the problems which we have and making it to more B2B and people-to-people contact. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for these interventions. And no doubt that CPEC has definitely added a lot to the energy security of Pakistan. And it's because of the Chinese investments under the CPEC that we're able to turn on these lights today. So we all owe a great contribution to China. And I think this is the time we can hear the response from the Chinese end as well. And then after the remarks from His Excellency Mr. Wang Shengji and Dr. Jain, I'll then be coming to the very top or to have the view from the private perspective as well. So firstly, let me come to Mr. Wang Shengji, the Head of Political and Press Section from the Embassy of People's Republic of China. Thank you so much for joining us today, and over to you, sir.
Thanks for the invitation, and also appreciate for the SDPI and the China Institute for organizing this event. And I really cherish this opportunity to learn from you. Actually, I do write so many notes, and all the speakers previously that have shared their ideas with visionary information and also practical suggestions. So hopefully that I can report back to my superior as well as the headquarters. You know, we are at a very critical and important juncture and preparing for the high-level visit, which is in the coming month. I'm sure everybody is just being very excited about this. So I think this moment that we do expect and really necessarily need all these suggestions as to how to develop the CPEC phase 2. And I would just share my comments actually from three perspectives. First is how to understand, and second is how to promote, and third is how to implement. So let me just start with how to understand. First, I would just say the concept of the phase 2, or what we call the upgraded version of CPEC, serve as the basis. And the second, the leaders of the two countries with their guidance. This is the precondition. And the third, that we have to synergize the policies of both countries. And this also serves the key. And just let me introduce some of the ideas or concepts from China's understanding for the upgraded version of the CPEC. What is the phase 2 of CPEC? From our side, we suggest we can have this 5 corridors into different fronts. First, it is the corridor of growth. So it is very easy to understand that this growth corridor emphasizes to draw up the long-term planning and also to have overall development of the country. to have this kind of the design in place. So this can serve foundations for the growth corridor. The second, what we call the corridor of life enhancing, because the corridor just creates the jobs for the local people and as well to improve the living standard of the local people. So this is also very important and serve the purpose of the development corridor. And the third is the corridor we call innovation corridor, which means that of course more emphasis will be given in the areas like the high tech, the mobile communication, the e-commerce, AI, and etc. And fourth is, of course, many people already just elaborate on this concept, that is the green corridor. And of course, we know that CPEC is one part of the BRI, and in which we have the Green Silk Road and also Green Pakistan initiative. So I think the green concept is also very important to develop to the next phase. And the fifth, what we call the corridor is open, which means that we welcome with the mutual consent of both countries that more parties from other countries can also join this part, so as to enhance the connectivity of the region and also to share more investment in this direction. So this is the concept, what we call the phase 2 CPEC. And the second part is that normally we tend to focus directly onto those projects. Somehow, as I understand, actually some guidance from the leadership is more important because this is more strategic. And the projects serves as technical parts. So as we can see recently, the planning minister Pakistan, so as well as the deputy prime minister, foreign minister, they both made a very successful visits to China, and also paved the way for the prime minister's visit to China. So all these kind of high-level interactions, these can also be accredited as some of the outcomes for these positive developments. So we not merely focus our attentions to specific projects. I think this guidance or the mutual trust, as well as the consensus reached at the top decision makers, this is the fundamental importance to the development of CPEC. And then the second layer is to synergize both policies. As I just introduced, the 5C, the 5 corridors, the concept, and we also know that new government of Pakistan is developing the 5E mechanism. So how to combine these two together and to make the best effort that we can reach mutual achievements at both ends. I think this is also very important. And many people also refer to allocation of the Chinese industries to Pakistan, as well as to develop the SEZs. So in this regard, I would like to share some of the good news from our side that we do plan to have some Chinese experts in the special economic zones, or what we call also the special, industrial parks that can travel to Pakistan to stay not just for a very short while, but hopefully can stay at least more than 3 months or even half a year to study the current situation in Pakistan, and more importantly, to figure out what should be the suitable roadmap or the design structure to develop Pakistan's SEZs. So this is also very important. So as I said, that to understand the concept, to understand the importance of the leadership's guidance, and understand the importance for the synergy of the two policies, this is the way that we understand the phase 2 CPEC. And then comes the question how to promote. And actually, they are very easy. I would say first, we have to grab the pilot projects, which are pilot projects here so far. First, of course, the FL1 and all the people and government officials, the academic people, and then as well as the media they all give this as high priority. And now this is not a question as whether we should promote or whether we should conduct the ML1. It is only a matter as when and how. So still at this stage, I think two sides have been in close contact and in very intensive discussions for the financial package, as well as how to make it sustainable. This is very important. So we should not just in such a rush for such a joint project. And so this is for the long run. And besides ML1, another pilot project is Nevada. And of course, after 11 years of construction, rapid changes have already taken place in Nevada. And this year we have also finished the project of the Nevada Hospital as well as the desalination water plant. And also maybe in the few months after, we will expect to see the construction of the Nevada new international airport. So these are all very positive momentums. And I also know that from Pakistan side, the Prime Minister is very curious and enthusiastic to promote the coastal tourism as well as the real estate in the Nevada. So the way forward is very encouraging. So I think the Nevada port, these two pilot projects, and can also achieve a prosperous for the next stage. And then we have to develop new areas. Which are new areas? Of course, we understand that we have to introduce the concept of the comparative advantage. And there is an economist in China, if you know that he was the vice governor of the World Bank. His name is Justin Lee. He has the idea of the new structural economics concept. And he also shared some of the ideas to the leadership of the country. And saying that we should find what is the suitable for Pakistan and what is the competitive edge for Pakistan. And into this part, I would say that first, of course, we have to develop the agriculture. We should not develop agriculture as a normal project or only as understanding that I said to go into details of the techniques. We should develop the agricultural cooperation from an understanding as this food security. So this would remind people's urgency and the necessity as to develop the cooperation in this regard. And we can also develop those high value added food and the fruits to the Middle East market. And also, I think so many positive momentums have already been experienced here in Pakistan. For example, we have the chili pox, and I will just share some of the figures. I cannot remember all of them, so I just to read some. And we now have the plantation of chili in Pakistan already exceeds 30, and we accumulated 16,000 acres. And the output in these chili plantations, they are triple times of the ordinary traditional plants. And also we developed a buffalo embryo laboratory from our private Chinese company. And it has annual production capacity of 30,000. And we also try to encourage the collaboration between Pakistan and the Xinjiang province. And now they developed 600 room of high efficiency integration demonstration area, and also try to develop 60,000 room of land development. And the introduce of the machinery can also achieve greater harvest. Like some of the harvesters introduced from China, they can reduce the losses from 40% to 80%. So all these figures and facts illustrate the potential and also the innovations of our cooperation in the agriculture sector. And the second sector is the mining. And of course, we have achieved good success as developed the SETDAC as well as the DUDA, the CPEC mining. And now the CPEC project is of huge potential. So these areas can also have Pakistan to earn its foreign revenues as well for the development of the Balochistan province. And the third is IT. Of course, IT is one part of the high tech, and as I just mentioned, the AI. These are all new frontiers, and I think Pakistan also enjoys huge potential. I was told by the army chief saying that every year here, Pakistan graduates 30,000 students majoring in IT. So I think that we can serve as critical tool. And I can just give you one example, like the Chinese company called Huawei. Actually, recently, it transferred its global service center from India to Pakistan, which means it has a good confidence on its potential to that market here in Pakistan, and which also helped create 3,000 jobs for the local employees. So this, I think, is also some of the only one part of the positive stories. And another area is the new energy. New energy part, of course, Shah Jahan is the expert, and he just reviewed the history of this country is suffering from the load shedding. Now, of course, we try to optimize the national grid and also the structure of the energy consumption. And also, my friend is given the illustrations through the PPT, saying that how to develop the new energy part. I all agree and respect for their suggestions. And I would say that the Dr. Abid Sulari introduced the idea of the carbon financing and the carbon trading. I think we can combine these two together so as to give some more bonus or incentives for the future potential investors in this area. And one particular area point I would like to point out is that to address the overdue payment or the how to say, another issue is the capacity payment policy. It is really important to develop industry. So this is the fundamental purpose. And second, we have to invest to develop this transmission line. We have the material Lahore transmission line, and it is only one part of the country. So we have to start the phase 2, so as to enhance this kind of the transmission and as well as to reduce the line losses, and also to address the problems like the power theft. So the transmission line is very important. It is just like the, how to say, the vessels of the homebuilding. And if given this kind of the improvement, of course, the problems like the winter times or the nights to develop the solar panels, the photovoltaic power, all these questions can be gradually, how to say, addressed. So these are the 4 areas that I would like to recommend for the new areas of the great potential. And then comes the question how to implement. I will not elaborate too much, but just give some of the hints. First, as everybody also mentioned, that the security. Of course, the Baishan incident is a tragedy, and we appreciate for the follow-ups, the gestures and measures taken by the Pakistan's government as well as the military. And somehow we do also have to learn from this lesson. And the security for the Chinese or all other foreign investors here in Pakistan, their safety and the institutions as well as the projects, these are of priority concerns for whatever investors as well as their mother country. And second is discipline. This is some kind of the view I would like to have this opportunity to share with our audience. We have the financial discipline. We also have the government discipline. And in an internal discussion of my team, I also share this concept. We all try to figure out the key for China's success. And we all try to find what is the linkage between China's government efficiency as well as economic performance. I think discipline, these keywords, sometimes also can be draw some clue. So hopefully that we can have more chance or more time just to exchange ideas as for the China's governance. And the display is one of the major aspects for how to improve the governance. And the third is the public opinion, which means that we have to build consensus among the general public. We all understand that confidence is very important. And meanwhile, somehow, if the country is suffering from the financial difficulties, the patience is also very important. So this should be messages shared by all the general public. And we do have to just cast our confidence to the country, to the CPEC, and of course, we need your support with patients. So some of the points here just have already made. So hopefully, just listen to more your inspirations and proposals and suggestions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Wonderful points. And I think I agree with all of those, starting from the point of synergizing the policies. That's extremely important. And the framework that you mentioned, the 5C, and how they've sort of linked with the 5E framework that the Ministry of Planning Development Special Initiatives have been. We do have Asim Saab with us, but we'll be coming to him later. First, let us hear from one of the sorry, a lot of the points that were extremely relevant, and we'll be definitely be taking into account all of the key recommendations and insights His Excellency Mr. Wang has mentioned today. But at the same time, we're very pleased to have been joined by Dr. Zhang. He's one of the green financing experts and is also sort of leading PRI GC as well. So he's currently the Chief Development Officer, the Belt and Road Initiative International Green Development Coalition. So with this, Dr. Zhang, you have been with us since the start. You have listened to the reforms agenda. We have also listened to the remarks from some of our experts, including Mr. Shahjahan Mirza, Mr. Wang, and the colleagues as well. So with this, I'll be coming to you for your interventions and from Chinese perspective as well. So yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And it's so wonderful to be invited and to join the discussion again. I still remember vividly of the wonderful conversations that we had last year, the later part of last year for the annual SDPI meeting. And also very glad to see my good friend, Mustafa, although he's in Thailand. And also very much thanks to Dr. Suleri and SDPI for extending the invitation. And I have been listening and taking notes with all of these wonderful suggestions and observations with regard to the CPEC 2.0. And I think in light of the upcoming visit from the Prime Minister to China, I think this discussion is very timely and I think very crucial in terms of our forging ahead of ideas that we can propose to respective governments, so that the leaders at the highest level that they can consider and to factor in, so that we can together march on to the second phase and also to many future phases of the CPEC. I think I basically have three points I want to cover. The first, I want to give you some updates with regard to the development here in China. Second, I want to touch upon some of the newest development with regard to BRI development. And certainly, I want to give some my personal suggestions with regard to what I think could be the key areas of the interest and the focus for CPEC 2.0. First, from China, I know there have been lots of, let's say, reporting about the situation in China, and these days, when you do not have the control of the media, this is basically what you have, and there's so, let's say, reporting of the situation in China from the extreme end. Some the reportings are extremely negative, to the point almost the economy and the country will collapse in the next month or so. And some of them are extremely positive, and to point out the strong foundation China has really laid down that will be the launchpad for the next stage of the development. And I think we all know that China is poised to have the third plenum of the 20th Party's Congress, that we have already seen some of the previews with regard to the discussion leading up to the main ideas that will come up from the third planning of the 20th Party Congress. But I think we all agree, no matter how much you hate China, but I think you still need to agree that the overall message that has been previewed, including the most recent visit from the President Xi to Shandong, and the panel discussion that he had with entrepreneurs, CEOs, and also one of the renowned economists from Peking University, is that opening up and reform will still be the key. And the reason for that, because the President Xi has emphasized again and again that China is a people-centered country, and we do attach lots of and the utmost attention to people's welfare. And I think that's the same principle China is attaching to in the cooperation with other countries, particularly through the BRI cooperation, and also I think the China-Pakistan cooperation, particularly the CPEC development, really stays on. That's almost as the jewel on the crown of all the China's overseas development. So I think that's something that we should really cherish, and we should be thankful that we had a great president and providing a great direction for the country. So some quick updates with regard to China that I think the fact speaks, right? In addition to China will be able to maintain the 5% of the annual GDP development. And primarily, I'm speaking from the environmental side. By the end of last year, the total installed capacity of China renewables has exceeded 1,500 gigawatts, and it was the first time that has surpassed that of the fossil installed capacity for power. So in other words, I mean, green right now accounts for more than 50% of the total installed power generation capacity of the country. And by the end of last year, we totally already had on the road more than 20 million EVs. And it was just reported that in the first 3 months, it was the first time in the history that the sales of the EVs have surpassed that of the traditional cars. In other words, we sell more EVs right now than we sell in the traditional cars in the country right now. And also on the carbon market that is well on its way to be developed. Not only China maintains to have the largest carbon market in the world that has more than 2,300 industries, but the State Council has promulgated first the management decree for the carbon market, and also that the CCR, China Certificate Emission Reduction policy was renewed, and China is on its way to further expand it and to develop that. I mention those because those are the strong foundations I think China maintains and leverage with regard to the green BRI development. I think many of you probably in the room heard me talking about the green BRI last year after we, right after we finished the third the BRI summit, in which the green was again much stronger featured in President Xi's announcement, was with regard to what he commits China again to the BRI development, also green development. I think if you look back to the history of the green BRI development, China primarily has gone through 3 stages as the way that we look at it. The first stage is to reduce the impact of China's overseas investment. Again, President Xi pledged again that China will continue to do green investment, green infrastructure, green energy, and green transportation, but in a greener way. In other words, I mean, China will still be able to commit it to and to maintain that level of commitment, helping other developing countries develop their basic infrastructure system, but at a way that was reduced environment and carbon footprint. And I think we all remember the groundbreaking President Xi made announced in 2021 that China will start building coal-fired power plants overseas, and China didn't build a single coal-fired power plant since then. I think the second stage is actually exactly what we are observing right now is the so-called three news, the solar, the batteries, and also the EVs, as I have listed some of the numbers to you. And we know that those are some of the things that because of China's capacity, because of China's the marvelous endeavor to reduce the cost, so that our global climate commitment can be fulfilled because of the high quality and low cost solution China is providing. But I think China is marching on with regard to those three news and continue to put the investment and continue to expand its support of other countries. One of the newest example is China's cooperation with Indonesia, fulfilling the gap that was left by the so-called failing the Just Energy Transition Partnership that was promised for Indonesia with new investment, but also very innovatively, China is actually cooperating with Indonesia, so providing green electrons to Singapore because Singapore doesn't have the capacity itself, neither has the land. And thirdly, I think the part is China is, I also described last year, these new finance mechanisms that China initiative China is putting forward, namely the $100 billion the Chinese government is putting forward in supporting 1,000 small and impactful projects. Many of them will be oriented in the area of the green, and also thanks to some of the partnerships here, including Mustafa, since the CPI that we launched the GIFT, the Green Investment Finance Partnership, that lining up in all the major players of China's overseas investment, implementation, finance, and also service that we are working in a steadfast way. But one thing I think is really worth noting is the new principle China is establishing in this overseas work is so-called the three integration. So China will look further in terms of integration of overseas support, investment, and trade all together, so as to to maximize the impact and to seek the utmost sort of level of the cooperation. And I think that's also that's in light of some of the newest development that's happening. So which I don't want to waste your time to repeat, but just say EU is marching on with its 2040 commitment for a 90% reduction, and even with US today, it made a new announcement for the so-called development of a high-level VCM, the voluntary carbon market. I think really sends at least a positive signal that we can work around. So what are my suggestions? What are my sort of key points I want to convey to you? The first one is I think CPEC 2.0 needs to be succeeded, needs to be successful. I don't think there's any doubt of that. And I think early on we have heard all the suggestions related to people's vision of the CPEC 2.0 and what needs to be put into that. But again, I think the CPEC 2.0 is going to be a perfect fulfillment of President Xi's commitment in his speech during the Third BRI Summit, which is that China is committed in helping other countries to develop from the exactly, which I quote, the valley of development to the height of valley of the development, to the height of the prosperity. And I think CPEC 2.0 sits on top of that commitment. So for me, in my mind, is only an issue of how. It's not an issue of shall. I think we need to work very much firmly with each other, for a successful CPEC from all the angles. Second, I think we have heard some of the previous speakers, which I fully agree, And particularly, I think that was highlighted in Mustafa's opening remarks, that it's a sense of the reciprocal approach that both countries need to figure out a way to work at multiple levels for a successful CPEC, in which I particularly want to emphasize on the multi-stakeholder cooperation. In other words, business to business, think tank to think tank. I think the government has done their part, although, I mean, we heard from the embassy that Congress continues to have the commitment.
Yes, just in the interest of time, if you can sort of conclude the recommendation.
Yeah, sorry. So that's my second point. I think multi-stakeholder approach, I think that's really important, not only in the government level, but multi-stakeholders also all work together. Recently Mustafa was in China. I introduced him to some of the top innovative entrepreneurs in China. I think that those will greatly complement with the existing cooperation. And certainly on the green finance, again, I do not want to waste time for this, but I think China is marching on its green finance development, and that certainly take advantage of the global trend. That's certainly an area that the countries can work further. But let me get to my last point, which I think is really important, which is the point I want to try to convey here. I think we need to really think about, because we have the political trust, we have the economic trust, we have the friendship trust between the two countries. We need to think about in the context of CPEC 2.0, to think about the hub. I think what I call the phase 1.0 is probably the hub of implementation. We do things really well, we implement together. But we need to think about, maybe in the CPEC 2.0, we can think about to migrate and from the hub of the implementation to the hub of innovation. And with that, I think, sorry, I don't have time to elaborate, but given the challenging time, it's exactly the moment that we need to think about innovation. And sometimes the greatest innovation only can be incubated in the great time of the challenge. And that challenge and that innovation that should happen at all levels of cooperation, that will not only to make sure that we guarantee we have a successful CPEC 2.0, but also that we can guarantee the friendship and the eternal relationship of the two countries can to continue to grow and to prosper. Thank you. And sorry for taking a little longer.
No worries, Dr. Zhang. It was lovely listening from you and all of your suggestions. And thank you firstly for highlighting the key recent developments, and the suggestions are well noted and incorporated. So, extremely sorry, I think we'll be going 25 minutes above our time since we started at 12:25 due to the whole traffic jam. But let us just now listen from some of the private sector representatives from the CPEC we have. So, firstly, I'd be requesting Mr. Zuberi, the Senior Advisor of China Trade, Borges, for his interventions. And I think Zuberi Sir would like also has a PowerPoint, which he would also like to display. So with this, sir, over to you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Honorable Mr. Khalid Walisa, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all pay my gratitude to the SDBI and basically PCI for holding this very important and timely dialogue, because our Prime Minister is leaving China, and it is a very good occasion to talk on the CPEC 2. So I will only point out the things which have not been discussed up till now. I have a very brief presentation. The presentation starts with the background, some background. I will touch upon the main key achievements and key challenges which have been faced by the project companies which are doing projects in Pakistan, which means the projects which have been done under phase 1. I will highlight the focus areas of CPEC 2. The reforms for the success of CPEC 2 I will discuss. I will highlight some opportunities related to CPEC 2, and in the end, I will try to have some way forward. Now, let me highlight that this concept of basically Belt and Road Initiative was floated by President Xi Jinping in November 2013. BRI connects Chinese economy with East Asia, Central Asia, West Asia, and Europe. CPEC is a flagship project of BRI. CPEC will not only benefit China and Pakistan, but has a positive impact on Iran, Afghanistan, Central Asian Republic, and the region. Now, the most important thing about the CPEC 1 is that it is based on G2G framework. Major components of the CPEC 1 are energy sector, transport sector, and development of the water port. There are different stages for the development of the CPEC. The agreement for the CPEC was signed on 8th November 2014. The first session is about the early harvest. The duration was from 2005 and 2018. Most of the projects were related to the energy sector. Then there are short-term projects, mainly roads, other development, optic fiber, network, etc. Medium-term projects, major hydropower projects and industrial zones and railways. And long-term is industrial zones, agriculture, science and technology. Now, if you see that up till now, 8,000 megawatts of projects, power projects have been completed and they are providing reliable power to the national grid. This is the location. One important project which has not been mentioned is the Matiari-Lahore 880-kilometer transmission line. Earlier, government of Pakistan initiated many policies to encourage private sector to develop transmission lines in power projects. Under CPEC, this is the only transmission line project which has been done successfully by the private sector. The other is that around 5,000 megawatts of projects which are under construction at this stage under CPEC. Now, what are the key achievements of the CPEC? Mr. Wali Sahab has already talked about this, that in 2013, you see, there was a load shedding of 8,000 to 10,000 megawatts. The load shedding was for about 10 to 12 hours per day, even in the Islamabad capital. And at that time, there were tremendous losses to the economy also due to this shortages. However, these CPEC projects came well in time. They reduced the power short. Now we are having some surplus power. The greatest achievement is that they address the issue of the power shortfalls in Pakistan. And these projects were developed very fast-track projects. Like this Sahiwal project was completed only in 22 months. The Karot hydropower project was completed 1 year ahead of time, hydropower projects, despite COVID. A transmission line of DC transmission line was also commissioned in this time. This CPEC 1 brought clean and green projects to Pakistan. About 1,500 megawatt renewable-based projects are already operational. Around 5,000 megawatts of projects based on renewable energy technologies are under construction. The CPEC provided immense employment opportunities for the locals. Around 50,000 people got the jobs in various CPEC projects. Another important thing is that CPEC brought a foreign direct investment of more than 33 billion. For example, in this case of power projects, these projects were developed by private sector, which means that all risks, like financial risk, or they were responsible to arrange the financing, construction risk, operating risk lies with those project companies. So during this period, a foreign direct investment of more than 33 billion came to Pakistan. It improved macroeconomic conditions of Pakistan. It brought technological skills. For example, nobody knew about the supercritical technology in Pakistan before CPEC. The CPEC companies hired more than 600 students from the NUST and other reputable industries. These students were trained in China and now they are serving the products. For hydel projects, our company, for example, Karot Hydropower Project Company, basically selected 33 students from the remote area. They did BSc electrical engineering. After completing this engineering, they are hired in the hydropower. CPEC projects provided electricity at a reliable rates. CPEC projects bring prosperity to the local people. If you see, a lot of CSR activities have been done by this project company. CSR activities in education and health, in infrastructure has been done. So CPEC projects have played a very important role in social development, including education, vocational training, etc. Now, there are some challenges also. The biggest challenge is that under CPEC, companies implemented many projects, and these were implemented particularly power projects under Government of Pakistan power projects. The main challenge was that both federal government and provincial government frequently changes the policies. For example, when these projects were under construction, all of a sudden 16% sales tax was levied, which was not in the policy. So not many policy issues were there. There are about 6 key changes were made in the policy, which had serious financial implications on the CPEC projects. The other thing is there are cumbersome administrative procedures. Process for obtaining necessary approvals is extremely difficult. The CPEC project companies face challenges for bureaucratic hurdles, such as there was reluctance among various government of Pakistan entities to take timely decisions. Another important thing is that there was tremendous amount of delays in resolving some critical issues. For example, the sales tax issue took about 1.5 years to resolve. Land acquisition, for example, these projects were developed on a land which they had to acquire. There is no framework for land acquisition, and it is being dealt by the provincial government. That is an issue. Policies were being implemented in a very, very slow manner. I will not talk on circular debt because everybody is aware. Security is another important issue. Everybody has talked about. This was the biggest challenge. Now, the first phase of the China-Pakistan economic corridor has successfully been completed after overcoming a number of challenges and had achieved significant milestones. You can see that today we are sitting, there is no load shedding, at least in Islam. There are some load shedding going on because due to the transmission line constraints. Now, to ensure the benefits of CPEC are maximized for the people of Pakistan, it is crucial to apply the lessons learned from the development and implementation of the first phase of the CPEC. Now, the second phase of the CPEC is based on G2G. Sorry, for P2. Only 2 projects in phase 2 are G2G, which are main railway line and Deepwater. Other projects which are foreseen under the CPEC 2 are all business to business bingo. For its first initiative under the CPEC 2 is industrial cooperation. This is the most important element of the CPEC 2. Already 9 special economic zones have been identified. Work on the 4 special economic zones are already going on. These are Rashakai, Allama Iqbal, Special Economic Zone, Abedi, and one of his Postan in Balochistan. Now, these zones are being created to encourage Chinese industries, particularly textile industries and other capital intensive, labor capital intensive, to relocate from China to Pakistan. Another important area in which will be touched upon by the CPEC is the agriculture sector. It is related to the seed development, crop production, water management, and corporate farming. Main railway line project 1 is also under CPEC 2. In this case, it will be related to the upgradation of the railway infrastructure between Karachi and Peshawar, enhancing of the speed and capacity of the trains. And another area is information technology, digital infrastructure development, promoting Pakistan agriculture, Pakistan digital economy, and we have talked about the green corridor. I will not touch upon this. Now, there are some key reforms for the CPEC 2 success. The main key reform is the policy framework. First of all, there should be a very, very clear policy so that all the elements of the CPEC 2 are successful. The policy should be very clear, should clearly identify all incentives and concessions. And there should be no changes made in the policy. Policy should be framed after consulting the private sector, after consulting the lenders, after consulting the Chinese government and Chinese investors. Next is that there should be proper institutional framework. There should be a one window facility created so that the Chinese investors do not roam around in Pakistan in various departments. There should be one window facility. Human development. In Pakistan, at the moment, there is a problem of the capacity of the institution. So development of the skilled workforce is very important for the success of CPEC 2. Projects should be very well identified. A lot of homework government departments or private sector in Pakistan should do. A proper feasibility study should be prepared. A proper documentation should be there. And this project should be visualized after considering a time horizon of 30 years. What we have seen in Pakistan, we prepare beautiful policies. Once the projects are there, then we think that, oh, this is the bad. Then investors are basically blamed on something for which they are not responsible. Next is that these brochures, these documents should be prepared and then these should be marketed. Then proper roadshows should be held in China. Then Chinese investors should be encouraged to come to Pakistan on B2B basis and try to develop projects under CPEC 2. Now, there are a lot of opportunities under CPEC 2. For local business, there is a local business growth, enhanced opportunities for local businessmen through increased market access, industrial development, expansion and modernization of the local industries through technology transfer. The CPEC 2 will create a lot of employment opportunities because if the China industries are relocated from China to Pakistan, obviously there will be a lot of opportunity for the local. There will be a supporting local vendors will get a lot of benefit. There will be increased demand for the local vendors, supplier, boosting domestic supply chain. At the moment, Pakistan is facing a problem of the power demand. Power demand will increase as the industry will come up. And obviously, it will improve socio-economic development. Now, the way forward is that, first of all, we should develop a very detailed roadmap for each sector identified under CPEC 2, including timelines along with the milestones and the parties involved. We should spend a real, sincere hard work and efforts to prepare the roadmap for this. Security is very important. We talk about the security, but also for the security, the plans should be developed in consultation with the Chinese company. Why I'm saying? Everybody talks about the security, but the problems, the companies which are operating are already facing some problems. So those should be addressed. For example, let me put one example. In Pakistan, the security SOPs are that whenever any foreign lender, any foreigner comes to Pakistan, NOC is issued, it takes 6 to 20 weeks. In our project, there are lenders. If a lender wants to come a project and we say that you will get NOC in 6 weeks, they will go in. For our projects, lenders, the owner engineers have not come for the last 1 year. So all the security SOPs should be prepared to facilitate the company, not with an idea to create problems so that the progress is hampered. Another important thing, there should be some enhancement of these strengthening collaboration, enhance China-Pakistan collaboration by establishing joint committees, working group, focus on each specific area so that all the issues, all the ideas, all the policies could be discussed at that forum. And in that forum, it should be the business to business. There should be business people of China, business people of Pakistan, along with the support of the common institution. It's a very important thing that investment in training programs and institutions is very, very important to upskill the Pakistan workers in sectors such as development, manufacturing, digital technologies, and renewables. Technology and knowledge transfer is another area. Facilitate technology sharing and professional exchanges to spark innovation and elevate Pakistan industries to international standards. Monitoring and evaluation is extremely important. Implement a very robust monitoring and evaluation mechanism to ensure transparency, assess progress, and manage challenges in real time. Launch public aware campaign to inform and engage stakeholders about the benefits and the opportunities of CPEC. There's obviously issue environmental sustainability, which has been talked about. Thank you very much.
Yes, wonderful. Such a comprehensive and yeah, please round of applause. Thank you, Zubair Saab. This was for elaborating, giving such a wonderful perspective, and so many. You have already jotted down such a wonderful roadmap, which will make sure to incorporate in the recommendations going from our end, also the reforms agenda that we have prepared. And also, thank you for highlighting the challenges on the behalf of the private sector as well. So just in the interest of time, let me come to Mr. Basit Ghori and then Ayub Saab as well. So Basit, you have been also working around the CPEC, and especially when we're talking about this whole reforms agenda, that what we have discussed over today, if you sort of think of any of the missing points, or if you would like to sort of add on to the discussion, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abed. And I think pretty much many of the points have already been covered, but I'll just step back a little bit in terms of setting the context and adding on to some of the points that Mr. Mustafa also mentioned about the changing landscape that has happened over past 10 years, and then I'll switch towards the reform then. You see, there's a big difference when we were conceiving the phase one of CPEC and now. Definitely feel right now, this in Islamabad 2 days back, you witnessed the wildfire, something that you didn't used to witness at that time when we were conceiving the first. So climate change is the dominant issue for us right now, and we are actually witnessing things on ground. And within that changing landscape, when it specifically comes to the energy sector, there's a lot of shifts of winds that has happened in past 10 years, some good and some also bad. We have seen ourselves gone from energy deficit to an energy surplus country. Now, what does that say? That says definitely to shift the focus as well from away from the generation and more towards maybe conceiving additional demand or maybe having more transmission to dispatch. So I think that those are the critical things that needs to be taken into account. Similarly, there's some development that has happened locally in Pakistan. So we have come up with the targets for 30% of renewables. When we talk about China, they have gone to humongous developments within the RE sector, housing 30% of the installed capacity globally. So they have become a big player as well. And then, of course, the 2021 announcement by President Xi of doing away from coal. That's one of the biggest shifts because our first phase was primarily dependent on coal. And I think that's something that we need to locally align ourselves as well. We have seen, and I know some of our colleagues do like to say coal and local coal and differentiate between the imported coal. But if we are pitching it as a green BRI, I don't think there should be any space for saying green coal or things like that. If you're pitching for a green BRI, then believe in it. If you are going to a COP and jointly aiming for the agendas, to have this greener BRI, then you have to believe in it, and you can't just on the side also say that okay, it's a cleaner coal or maybe go to CPT or C2L technology. So I think that is something that we need to do a lot of realignment internally as well. And also, with the development of Rig C, I think that's one of the crucial things that has happened in past few years that could allow us to open a lot of opportunities to collaborate cross-border in terms of climate change as well. So coming over to the reforms, I think most of the things have been covered, but I'll just expand on a little bit why some of them are significant and add some new points. Number one, we talked a lot about B2B and the private sector participation. When we're talking about specifically to the energy sector, because now the focus has shifted away from the large thermals to the smaller wind and solar projects probably. You see, these are the markets when we talk about the wind market that has already been developed by the private sector in Pakistan and very successful case study for the global countries as well. So nevertheless, any kind of development that needs to happen should complement this private sector market rather than having, this G2G contracts or even G2B contracts like the other projects of the CPEC 1.2. So I think the major overarching idea of this CPEC 2.0 should be more focused on development of the market, and that also aligns with the China's own fifth-year plan, the 14th fifth-year plan that they have launched 2 years back, to let the market take the leading role. So I think that's one critical thing that needs to happen. And I think another thing that was, very descriptively mentioned and very good example given by Mr. Reza was about the inconsistency in the policies. And we have also heard about from the Shah Jahan Sahab also previously. But I would also add there's not just inconsistencies in the policy, there's also dichotomy between the policies and the plans. And we've seen that when we are talking about the generation, the recent upcoming plan for the generation expansion just changes the expansion requirement arbitrarily. I would want to say 36 gigawatt to 19,000 megawatt. So we have almost slashed off about 30%, 35% of the capacity expansion. We have good reasons, but if this is the sort of planning and the policy inconsistency that Zubair talked about, it really begs the question about whether this time the projects that you're going to put up, would they be sustainable or not? So we need to have that conversation. I think one of the things also mentioned by Mustafa was also regarding the technology transfer. We need to take, fully comprehend the kind of opportunity we have with China when it comes to the overall supply chain of RE, right? They have over 80% of the overall components are being manufactured in China. So we need to focus on that kind of technology transfer, not just on the PV modules that we are focusing on the assembly line, but also back upstream to the mining industry, which is completely fragmented and completely informal in Pakistan. We don't know anything other than, Reko or maybe, not potentially Chagi, but there are a lot of other mining industries that potentially could house these metals. So I think there's a lot of focus, and these are energy intensive areas, which energy is a difficult issue for us that needs to be taken into account. One more thing was the access to the cross-border capital. I think for us, locally, finance being the major predominant issue, getting access to private capital in China, the green bond market, one of the biggest emerging green bond market, I think that should be key. We've talked about carbon markets, maybe having ICMOs with China, maybe have the access to the voluntary carbon market. So those are the kind of the framework that essentially CPEC could provide and could be of real value and sustainable going forward as well. Lastly, I wanted to mention there was a point about renegotiation of the new contract because as much we want to look forward, we have to resolve the current situation as well. One way that, if you want to have those kind of conversations, I think it would be better off they should be coupled up with new investment opportunities as well. So, if you're talking about renegotiation of contracts, maybe make them more commercially transactional and bankable that are lucrative to the investors, to their returns. And at the same time, you can link that with the opportunity of having new wind and solar being installed in the country. So overall, lastly, I think one of the key things also mentioned by the working group within JCC, by the Mustafa, and you talked about B2B alliance. I think that is one of the critical things that needs to happen. You have to link the industrial associations here to the industrial associations, in the China. And there's a lot of framework that needs to be developed, specifically when we're talking about the language barrier and the cultural barrier. You see, to overcome those kind of barriers, that's where such kind of a holistic level framework comes in. So I think that needs to happen. So yeah, that's pretty much covered my comments.
Yes, and thank you so much,
Thank
Basit. Wonderful suggestions. I'm really pleased to have coming with all sort of these very solid recommendations that can actually be translated into some very good actions. So with this, let me come to one of our most esteemed speakers we have, and the last speaker for today. We have been joined by Mr. Muhammad Ayub, who's the former managing director of National Transmission and Dispatch Company, and also currently serving as the CEO of KPK Transmission Company as well. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today. How would you also like to sort of summarize the discussion, and if you would like to add on any points? You have also worked with the Chinese as well. So with this, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
It's a great pleasure for me to sit in this conference. And I think our experts, panel experts which are sitting here, they have very clearly and precisely explained the major issues and challenges which are facing in our phase one and what are going to be phase in phase two. We will face this one. So what I will not take too much time, but I have seen that there is a, I will explain it like in this way that when phase one is started, we have a lack of power and we are looking at where we will get the power immediately and how we will get it. We are not looking how we will recover this cost of this expenditure or investment, what will become, which is about 300 billion rupees were invested in these projects. It is like this, that if you see that in our power technology, we are looking at a frequency. Frequency just like what you say, one side is generation and one side is demand. And we are trying to balance these two things, that we should have a balance this one, otherwise we will not give a stable supply to the system. So now at this time, but the challenge is that now we have to see, we have already demand is there, but we have to see our demand and recovery. Is it balanced? And what we have done for this one? We have made some policies. Why we have not made such policies? Why we are still in a lack of such policies since 2013 when we have started this one, and now we are sitting in 2024. So still we have Mr. Zubairi has very well explained, and these are the points which are really we are facing in our field. You see that first one is the stability in the policy. We have a no stable policy. The policies still, you see that this is the time for our solar and our renewable energy. We are just booming it. But the policies government has, every time consumer is looking them that how we will get the cheaper tariff. The main focus we should have how we will get a cheaper tariff. If the tariff is the same and we have investing too much in our CPEC projects, our real brother Chinese, they are ready to invest in our all projects. But what we are doing, we have to give them back the money. I have worked with them in a DASU project. I am sitting with them. They are ready to work, but they have the three things which they are always have a point of issue. One is the security. They are not satisfied with our security. Even with the guarantee of army, they are not still. We have a lot of failure. We should accept this one. Second one is that how we will get our amount recovered. Who will give the guarantee that our amount will be recovered? So these are the two major things, but our policies are not favoring this one. This is the one big issue. Second one is our political stability. Why we not make such policies that policy should not be changed for the next coming 30 years? We should see our countries which are doing the same work with the same policies. They have a frequent change of their political leaders, but their policies remain the same. Our policies always change. When our people are starting to start their solar panels, you are going to give them such type of contradict policies that even they are ready to fight with these policies. The people are not accepting this one. So these are the major things, but what I think that we should look into it. Otherwise, our Chinese are ready to give us too much investment, and they are supporting us in all our disciplines, in our technical, in our industry. And if you see the IGSAP plan, which is submitted in 2024, you will be astonished to see that what we are doing. Our domestic load is 80%. And what our industrial load, it is only 1%. How it is possible that with this 1% of industrial growth, we are able to give the recovery of this amount to the Chinese? So why we are not looking on this one? Why we are not making such, all these, I think the weakness is from our side. We should accept this one, and we have a potential available. We have a professional engineers available. Why the technocrats not included in these policies? It is a very unfortunate for us that we have a great professional engineers available in our system, but they have completely ignored. Always policies are made by, but you know that who are making these policies, and all the unfortunately is for us. So
Yes.
what I will say
Yes, fully,
that
fully
we
agree
should
with
focus on it, and this is a very good platform which you have give us, that our engineers should come forward. They should prepare such type of policies which are public interest policies or public friendly policies, so that we should go forward. Otherwise, it is not possible, but I am looking.
Yes, thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Thank you so much, Ayub Saab. Yes, a round of applause, please, for Ayub Saab and all of the speakers who have very well highlighted these recommendations. And what I can sort of commit is that we'll definitely bring them into the discussion. And with this, let me invite Badr Alam Saab, if you would like to come to the podium, I guess, for the concluding remarks. And if I can also request Hamza to sort of display the picture where you can all leave your further comments and suggestions as well. And then after that, we'll be closing with the vote of thanks from a 3-minute online recording message of former Senator Mushahid Hussain Saab as well. So with this, thank you so much, Badr Saab, for joining us. Let me bring us over.
Thanks a lot, Ruben. And hello, Adab, and good day to all of you. Let me start my remarks with a short Urdu couplet. It says, "Mawkoof tere sunne pe hai ye haal, qissa mera daraz bhi hai, mukhtasar bhi hai." For those who do not understand Urdu, I'll translate it. It all depends upon how you listen to the situation report. Since my tale is both long and short, the short tale goes something like this. Pakistan has been suffering from a serious economic, energy, and ecological crisis when CPEC came along about a decade ago. And immediately we started eulogizing it as a solution to all our problems. But lo and behold, 10 years later, we are seeing that the CPEC 1.0 has, in fact, intensified all the crises that it was supposed to be a solution of. And the long story that I was trying to tell, or I should not tell, is the one that you have already told. All the panelists here have told the long story. The short one is that the crisis that we were supposed to solve has only been intensified. With this, I will also give you another tale, because my friend Dr. Abid Saleri in his opening remarks mentioned mangoes. So I thought that I should also do something about, or talk something about mangoes. In 1968, Pakistan's ambassador in Beijing sent a gift of Pakistani mangoes to then head of Chinese Communist Party Chairman Mao Zedong. And Chairman Mao Zedong did not even touch the mangoes. He just sent that those crates full of mangoes to all the various units of the Communist Party of China. And they just instantly turned into a political icon. So all across China, where all those crates could not reach, paintings and icons were created of Pakistani mangoes, and badges were made for Chinese youth to wear, in which Pakistani mangoes were painted. So rather than enjoying Pakistani mangoes, it became like a political slogan. It became like a political thing. You might be thinking, what is it? What does it have to do with CPEC? It will come a little later. But I think this is how friendships are born. This is how friendships are strengthened. The real test of the friendships, however, is in tasting the mangoes, in learning what kind of taste they have. Are they rotten? Are they fresh? Do they come from like an ecologically safe area, or what, or some things like that? I think we have treated the CPEC 1.0 in the same manner. When we needed CPEC, we went to the Chinese, they gave it to us. We did not open the crates. we did not read the fine details. We did not know what it will entail for our economy, what it will entail for our energy, what it will entail for our ecology. And here we are, talking about all the things that went wrong and that could wrong. There are complaints by the Chinese investors that they're not getting paid. There are complaints by Pakistani public and Pakistani government that our finances have really gone haywire because of the payments that we have to make for the CPEC investments. So it would have been better if Chairman Mao had opened the crate of our mangoes then, and we had like read the fine print of our CPEC engagements now. On the other hand, all we did was we created great slogans out of CPEC. Our current planning minister is very fond of calling CPEC a game changer. Yes, it has changed the game, but perhaps for the worse rather than for the better. So we need to focus on what went wrong. And we did focus on this aspect on what went wrong in CPEC 1.0 in this discussion. And I think it's a great occasion for all of us to dwell on all these projects and analyze them thoroughly and understand them thoroughly and highlight the worries and the concerns that they have created, so that when we embark on CPEC 2.0, we do not repeat all the mistakes that we have already done. Similarly, I say that CPEC started a decade ago, but never until a couple of years ago, we started talking about the greening of CPEC. And now the panelists today have highlighted that some of these projects are actually contributing to the climatic and environmental dangers that Pakistan is suffering from. So that is why this CPEC 2.0 needs to focus massively on the greening aspect of it. If we continue to harp on the old technologies, on the old modes of carrying out these projects, I think that will not green the CPEC at all. I'll give you just one example. There is a project listed in CPEC phase 2. It is Gwadar coal power plant. It's a small power plant, 300 megawatt maybe, and it is being set up on imported coal. A few hours ago, or maybe a few minutes ago, we talked about coal being a technology of the past, coal being a dirty technology. And yet, when we are talking about greening CPEC, we have a project that is entirely based on that dirty coal, that technology of the past. While we have the technologies of the present, and we have discussed those technologies and those options quite a lot in this forum. So here is a food for thought for our Chinese brethren, as well as our Pakistani colleagues, that do we need such a plant? Do we need a plant that runs on imported coal, which will require us to spend money on imported coal, and as well as will lead to the environmental degradation in an area which has pristine nature, which has like unpolluted seashore and very clear skies? Do we need a coal-based power plant in that area, or do we need to think of other options like setting up a hybrid plant there, like a wind and solar plant? Gwadar is so sunny that it does not get any clouds for 355 days of the year. And it is also very windy to be able to allow us to set up a good wind-based power station over there. So hybrid power plant consisting of solar and wind could be the better solution than setting up a power plant on like imported coal. So with all of this, I think I hope, and I also am confident this unpacking and this analysis that we have done here of CPEC 1.0 and CPEC 2.0 will go a long way to ensure that everything that changes hands between China and Pakistan, whether it is mangoes or CPEC, is fully analyzed and deeply thought out before it is accepted and sent around under the tired political phrases. We need to be realistic, we need to be practical, and we need to ensure that CPEC 2.0 does not turn out to be an initiative that further complicates financial and economic problems and relations between China and Pakistan, and sorry, and hurts our ecology and political economy more than like invigorating and livening this ecology and political economy. With these thoughts, I must thank all of you, the speakers, the presenters, and the participants of this very important gathering. I am grateful that that all of you have took time out of your busy schedule to be here and take part in the proceedings here. And I'm confident that these proceedings will definitely get plugged into not just the Pakistani policies, but also the thinking of Chinese government and Chinese investors who are interested in investing in CPEC 2.0. And I also am very grateful for all the organizers of this wonderful event. So a big hand to the SDPI team for arranging it for all of us. With this, I say goodbye to all of you and thank you once again for being here.
Thank you so much, Brother Saab, for concluding it extremely well. And with this, we'll be saying a final vote of thanks with this brief message from former Senator Mushahid Hussain and special remarks. So once again, thank you all from our side as well. If our MIS team can display the messages. Thank you.
Greetings, Assalamu alaikum, and ni hao to our Chinese friends. It is my pleasure on behalf of the Pakistan-China Institute to have this conference in cooperation with the SDPI regarding the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, which is now moving forward in its important second phase. And this China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, is the pillar of the Belt and Road Initiative launched by President Xi Jinping over a decade ago, which is undoubtedly the most important diplomatic and developmental initiative of the 21st century, spanning Asia, Africa, Latin America, Middle East, and Europe. And in the last 10 years, it has delivered big time. 3,000 projects with the outlay of over $1 trillion, bringing the world closer together to bring about a better tomorrow, not just for China, but for the people of the global south, for people of Europe, and for humanity as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is being convened at a very crucial time. It comes just a week after the meeting of the JCC, the Joint Coordination Committee, which is the apex body for CPEC, and which was successfully convened, and they discussed future projects, ML1, Mainline 1, about railway, which will help in modernization and upgradation of the Pakistan's antiquated railway system, agriculture, special economic zones, realignment of KKH, Gawada Port, information technology, and a host of other areas. And this conference comes just a week before the very important visit of the Prime Minister of Pakistan to China, where all these issues will be discussed threadbare and the basis laid for taking CPEC forward in the second phase. And we in Pakistan are very grateful to China for the timely support. CPEC is just one manifestation of China's vote of confidence in Pakistan and its people when it came forward with this huge project at a time when no country in the world, Western or Eastern, was willing to invest in Pakistan because of the internal situation, because of the geopolitical scenario, because of the strife-torn region. So this shows that how close the rapport between China and Pakistan is. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk of CPEC and the BRI, we are also talking in a global context when there are profound changes in a turbulent world which is being transformed. President Xi Jinping has rightly said that we are witnessing changes that are happening perhaps only once in a century. And we are also witnessing changes in the global balance of economic and political power. For Pakistan, which is located at the global center of gravity in terms of strategic positioning, we and China together want to be the hub of regional connectivity, economy, energy, roads, railways, ports, pipelines, Pakistan linking South Asia, China, Iran, Afghanistan with Central Asian republics of Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. And that is what CPEC is all about, connectivity. And today's world we see two contrasting visions. One of connectivity and cooperation through the BRI, through CPEC, which is win-win cooperation, which is not against anybody, and which everybody benefits, and which is not excluding anybody also. Conversely, we also see another vision, a darker vision, a negative vision, a militaristic vision, which talks of a new Cold War, which talks of containment, which talks of building new bases. We reject that vision because in the 21st century, the Asian century, the region can no longer have that kind of a mindset, a Cold War mentality, a zero-sum game mindset that is based on conflict and confrontation. Rather, the way forward for Asia, for Pakistan, for China is cooperation and connectivity. And for that, CPEC is the way forward. And we in Pakistan also feel that China has not just stood by Pakistan on CPEC, on economic issues. Billions of dollars of loans have been rolled over, provided relief. China has been our voice in the UN Security Council. China has supported Pakistan in the Nuclear Suppliers Group. China has stood by Pakistan in G20, and China has also been there to help Pakistan get out of FATF. So China is really not just a strategic partner, but an all-weather friend, which is now also, as President Xi Jinping rightly said, an iron brother. Finally, I would like to say that 2024 also marks the 70th anniversary of the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, which were enunciated by Premier Zhou Enlai as the basis of a new kind of international relations based on equality, non-interference, reciprocity, and mutual respect. This is in sharp contrast to the so-called rules-based order, which some in the West talk about, when the rules are no longer there. And as we can see in what is happening in Gaza, where the crimes against humanity are being committed by Israel, the so-called rules-based order, which is based on double standards of the West, lies buried under the rubble of Gaza, where all the countries which are on the side of justice and civilized humanity, like Pakistan, like China, are standing with the people of Palestine in the just struggle for self-determination to have an independent Palestine with Jerusalem as its capital. The prospects for Pakistan-China relations are very bright, and the first 10 years are testament to the success of CPEC, and the next decade would be more successful because the best of CPEC is yet to come, and we are looking forward to that, inshallah. Long live Pakistan-China friendship.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Long live China-Pakistan friendship, and we are so looking forward to a win-win solution under CPEC 2.0 for this. Again, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you so much, esteemed panelists. Please, thank you so much.